Sanbonan Dumlang, hello, it's Simply Spissa here and welcome back to my channel, but also a special welcome to you if you're joining me here for special welcome if you're joining me here for the first time, and also welcome to those listening to the audio podcast, Simply Do the Work. And so before we get into it, you know how we just get the formalities out of the way. If you're not yet subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. If you're listening to the podcast, then please subscribe or follow, depending on which platform you're listening to. And also do share these videos and the podcast episodes. It really means a lot to me. I also appreciate all you guys who constantly engage with me and my content. You're literally the reason why I keep doing what I'm doing, because Lord knows I ain't getting paid. That being said, you can tell from the title of today's video, we're going to be discussing Beyonce's Black is King and just all the mess that followed. It basically preceded and followed its release. So the first thing I do want to talk about is I feel like some people's expectations from this film are a little misguided. They're a little, hold up, my glasses are dirty. Let me just clean them. Sorry. As I was saying, some people's expectations are just misguided. They're just all over the place. I also do feel like some people's outrage and their anger is also misguided. Like they're throwing it all on Beyonce when really they should be looking at other people. I do also just want to say that these are my opinions. These are my thoughts and opinions. I am no one's self-appointed spokesperson. And even if though I will probably be speaking in more general terms, but like I always say, I don't have the answers, just want to have a conversation. So some people are acting as if this visual album was supposed to end, deep-rooted xenophobia and the corruption in Africa. Like some people are saying, will the movie end that? I'm just like, no one expected the movie to end that. I know some people are also like criticizing Beyonce, saying that she's capitalizing off of Africans and their culture, and there's this whole debate, this whole conversation on social media about, is this cultural appropriation or cultural appreciation? And what I do want to say is, I personally, the way I see it as cultural appreciation, and by the end of this video you'll hopefully understand why I said that. But my biggest issue, it's not the fact that people are having these conversations, but it's more so who is speaking up. Because why are African Americans, keyword African Americans, why are they the ones who, it seemed like they were the ones spearheading the whole appropriation chat? Like, most of the people who I saw crying appropriation were African Americans. And my issue isn't that, I'm not saying that, look, you can't speak about issues affecting a group you don't necessarily belong to, because I do speak about things which don't necessarily personally affect me, but my issue is just the condescending tone that these African Americans were using. Like, these Americans, some of them were speaking as if we Africans can't see danger for ourselves. It was almost as if, oh, you poor Africans, y'all can't see the danger that's coming, let me speak up for you. It's kind of like, no, you don't. It's the same thing when we're talking about racism, right? We say that allies to black people should never try to speak over them or tell them how to feel, right? But rather you should listen and empower. So instead of telling Africans how we should feel, how we should respond, listen to how we feel, listen to our thoughts and experiences, and then empower our voices. Because right now I feel like our voices were being drowned out by a lot of these American influences and just these, like those Twitter celebs or whatever they call themselves. Like, I remember this one YouTuber, she was talking about her experience dating a white guy, and she's an African American woman, and this white guy overheard a conversation that she was having with one of her friends where she used the N-word with a hard ER, and this white guy was like shook, he was flabbergasted, and he was like, no, you shouldn't be using that word, and he was going on and on about why it's wrong to use that word. And now I think, first of all, we do recognize that within the black community, within African Americans and even just around the world, there are varying views on the use of the N-word. Like, some say it should not be used, period, at all. Others are saying it's fine if it's with a GA. Others are like, no, the hard ER is the one that's a no-no. But the problem is, you're white. Why are you trying to police how this, black woman has to feel? And so that's just the way, just putting it just into, I guess, context. That's just how it feels for me when I see these African Americans writing all these think pieces saying that, what Beyoncé did was cultural appropriation. She's capitalizing off of African culture and all that, which I think that is a conversation that we should be having, But it's just the way it was spearheaded, the way people were going about it. I'm just like, nope, this train, I can't with it. I can't. But I do agree that Black is King was a catalyst in terms of having the bigger conversation on African representation in Hollywood, how Africa is represented in Hollywood. Because let's be honest, I think most people have a very narrow-minded view of Africa. Number one, they think Africa is just one big country. They don't recognize the fact that it's got actually, how many countries? Let me not lie, girl. But I know it's more than 50 countries in Africa. And each country has their own language, own story, own history, which isn't getting represented in the context of the, entire world's conversations, I guess. Like, I was talking to one of my friends and saying how it seems like Africa is forgotten in a lot of conversations when we're speaking about specifically like entertainment, right? Entertainment is all about, okay, the West, what the West is doing, and Asian media is really on the rise, but Africa really seems to be forgotten. If we're lucky, we're an afterthought, but most of the time I feel like people don't even consider what the continent and the people of Africa have to offer. And so I do appreciate this project, this visual album movie, Black is King, because it really showcased just the varying talent and the different cultures and the history and the story of Africa. And obviously, I personally, I saw myself in that film, and I saw myself being represented well. But I do recognize that is my own personal views. Hence, I said in the intro of this video, I am not a spokesperson for nobody, because I can understand if be it another South African or another African from another country, if they would be upset or not fully impressed or satisfied with their portrayal or how their culture was portrayed. But I can only speak for myself. Personally, I'm sure most of the people I know, even people I don't know, like most of the South Africans and even other Africans that I've seen on social media have been praising and loving this film. But I do agree that a bigger conversation needs to be had in terms of African representation and how Africa is portrayed, because obviously a lot of people will probably never set foot on this continent, right? So their only exposure is through the media. And so that's why I do feel like we shouldn't necessarily be criticized. Like, I feel like some people are just literally throwing all of this blame on Beyonce, and it's not lost on me that she's a Black woman, and that's probably why she's seen as an easy target for all of their political agendas and all of that. It's kind of like your anger is misguided, because from me, the way I see it, I do see this as like a showcase. I see it as a collaborative project. Some people were saying that Beyonce shouldn't have centered herself within the narrative. And I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with people who feel like Beyonce. I feel like she decentered herself from the narrative. I feel like, whenever she was on screen, it served a purpose. I feel like you didn't get the sense that she was just forcing herself to be in every scene. I mean, even on the album, The Lion King, The Gift, she isn't even present on every song. There are songs where Beyonce's vocals, I'm mixing vocals and voice at the same time, so my brain never saying vocals, where Beyonce's voice is nowhere to be heard, right? And like the lead characters were Africans, which like something else I would say is some people probably just saw this as just a collection of music videos and missed the storyline. They missed how this was basically retelling the story of the Lion King. Because something that sound made me aware of is that whenever Disney wants to tell a story about black people, they make them animals. Think about the Lion King. The Lion King is here in Africa, but they were like, no, we're not gonna tell an African story of African people. Let's just tell of the animals. The Princess and the Frog. That's like the only like black princess we got, and she was a frog for most of the movie. Make it make sense. So clearly, right? But hence why I say their anger is misguided. They should actually be like, yo, Disney, what's up? Because think about, can you actually name me? Like, if you can, because I've been trying, a black Disney icon. You know, someone who, and I don't just mean like, you know, the side characters. I mean, they did have like black characters in their movies and their shows, but like, there's no black person that comes to mind who has the success that, you know, Selena Gomez has, Demi Lovato, Zac Efron, Miley Cyrus. Those people. I think you see the issue. You see what I'm trying to say? And so I do recognize the importance of having these conversations, which is why, even though I know not everyone will agree with me, I'm willing to hear them. I'm willing to listen and be like, okay, you know what? Because I do recognize that I have my own biases. I have my own, you know, like, we don't see things as they are, but as we are. So that being said, I do want to talk about something else that I saw a lot of people. I'm trying to think, how do I segue this in? The issue of African spirituality, I guess. And I'm saying issue with like inverted commas because there are certain people, specifically Christians. I've seen this from Christians. I don't want to label them as fundamentalists, but some of them really do seem like fundamentalists who were saying things who are saying this is blasphemous. You know, saying black is king is blasphemous when Jesus is king. But that's actually like unscriptural, because if you think about it, the Bible calls Jesus the King of Kings, which means that it does recognize that they are earthly kings. And so I think before I continue further, I'm going to insert a clip of Beyoncé speaking about what black is king means, and then we'll continue the chat on the issue of African spirituality.
Black is King is finally here. I'm so excited you guys get to watch it tonight on Disney+. It's been a year in the making. I worked with a diverse group of very gifted directors and actors and creatives from all over the world to reimagine the story of the Lion King. The narrative unfolds through music videos, fashion, dance, beautiful natural settings, and raw new talent. But it all started in my backyard. So from my house to Johannesburg, to Ghana, to London, to Belgium, to the Grand Canyon, it was truly a journey to bring this film to life. And my hope for this film is that it shifts the global perception of the word black, which has always meant inspiration and love and strength and beauty to me. But Black is King means black is regal and rich in history, in purpose, and in lineage. I hope y'all love it. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope y'all see it tonight.
And so it's also not lost on me that when Christianity was introduced to black Africans, it came with colonization, right? It came with the white supremacy. I think that's something I did mention in previously, that we have to reconcile all of that, okay? You can't just hold on to the goodness and the grace and the love that you find in Christ and just completely disregard the history of systemic oppression that still exists till today in the church, okay? Literally, studies have shown that the church is one of the most racist organizations that exist today. And you see it in just the segregation. Like I've said this before, how there are churches I will not step foot in because I don't even need to name them. Like when I just, like even here in South Africa. But anyways, right? when Christianity was introduced, right, one of the ways that someone was identified as a Christian was through clothing. You know, you were made to abandon your African clothing, your traditional clothing, and start wearing European clothing. They literally changed people's names and gave them Christian names, which a friend of mine pointed out that what does a Christian name mean? Because the names that we use from the English Bible, those weren't their actual names. They had Middle Eastern names. Like Jesus is Yeshua, but then in the English Bible we know him as Jesus. And even I was saying, like, even if you look at the Zulu Bible, the characters have different names there, and so you kind of like it gets a little. You see, it's mess TV. It's literally mess TV. Because like like the more I try to unpack and understand it, it just like my brain starts glitching. Like, oh wait a minute, oh, what is this? Because I do understand some people were saying that we shouldn't be glamorizing witchcraft and demonic spirits, and all of this is being disguised as cinematography, as art. But how I see it is, what are the shows that people be watching? What about Hercules? You know, all these shows and films and works of art that incorporate Greek mythology. Why don't Christians denounce that? Why do Christians still happily consume that? Why do Christians still see the beauty and grace in that? But when it comes to African mythology, when it comes to African heritage and tradition, it's literally like people threw the baby out with the bathwater. And that is why I think we need to have this conversation and distinguish between, you know, things which are explicitly anti-biblical, but also recognize the nuance in this conversation of African spirituality and Christianity. Because I don't think that Christianity is, I feel like the way Christianity is being practiced and preached is by a European standard. It's like we as black people, we are being forced to assimilate into a European type of Christianity. It's like I have to literally put aside my blackness just to be welcomed into this space. Which, if you actually look at the history of Christianity was like, Europe was one of the last places for Christianity to arrive, because the Bible takes place in the Middle East and parts of North Africa. And we can even have a whole discussion about how the term sub-Saharan Africa was also used to divide the continent. Was just almost because, you know, countries like Egypt and then was seen as very advanced, right? And so they tried to basically classify them as non-blacks, like basically like distance them from other black people. But also another thing that a friend of mine raised is, why is European seen as the standard? Why is it that it's seen as the Europeans are more developed, the Europeans are better in this and that regard? Like, why is that? Like, I seriously think as humanity we really need to unlearn a lot of things. I'm still doing the work in unlearning certain things. And so at the end of the day, I think we have to recognize that this is simply a work of art. Yes, it does have like political messaging involved in it. It does have, you know, the main theme of black pride, black excellence, and just the beauty and the richness and the vastness of blackness. Because I feel like at the end of the day, Black is King is not the be-all end-all of black people. It's not the alpha and the omega of black people. There's so much more that could have been explored, and that wasn't. And I think rather than direct all our attention criticizing it, which I'm not, look, also another thing, right? I'm not saying that Beyonce needs to be put on this high pedestal and her work just should not be critiqued at all. That's not what I'm saying. But I do feel like some people's critiques are, sometimes it just seems very personal. It seems like y'all wouldn't be coming like this if someone else did this, right? People are complaining about how Beyonce centered herself in an African narrative, but think about the Eddie Murphy film Coming to America. You had African Americans acting the role of Africans, and when you actually think about it, it's like, well, if anything, I feel like what Black is King did is a step up. It's you can't even compare the two, because even if you think about how I saw that on her website, Beyoncé put the different designers that she worked with, the different South African and even African designers. Like, I saw a news article headline that said like 20 South African designers were involved in this project. And so you see that it wasn't just she didn't just leave America, come go to the different places and be like, okay, this is what I want to do. Here are my people and my wardrobe. Y'all gonna wear this. You can tell that she really took her time, because she had to find these people. She took the time to work with them, get to understand them, and create this beautiful body of work. I mean, as it stands, it is receiving tons of praises from critics. It's critically acclaimed, and most of the feedback has been relatively positive, and it's kind of like, how can we be so quick and easy to bash something so beautiful that has brought joy to millions? Like, it brought joy to me, but like, as I was saying, those who do have real valid concerns, we should listen to them, have those conversations, because I do think that Black is King has been a catalyst for many greatly important conversations that need to be had. And like I've been discussing Black is King and just all things surrounding it for the last couple of days. Like, today is Wednesday, so like 3-4 days I've just been diving into all of it, and even just the symbolism, the spirit, like just the symbolism and the artworks and the design. Like, there's so much imagery. Like, I'm not even gonna try to explain it and break it down, because I feel like there are people who do a much better job than me. But it's also, I've actually learned a lot. There are things that I didn't know about African history or African traditions. There are things which I thought were exclusive to my culture, but then I found that, oh, they also do like a similar thing somewhere else. And I think it also, as much as, right, on one end we see the vast difference and the beauty of the different cultures, it also showed me how we also have a lot in common. And so I'm not expecting this to end wars and famine and all that, because those are real issues that Africa faces. And I do also think we need to be worried not to over romanticize the continent of Africa, because I know that is a real and valid concern. But I think that is why I say the important thing is that we critically consume whatever content we consume. We critically think about it. That is why I engage in these conversations, and that is why I've even said before, like, you'll never find an unproblematic piece of work. Okay, there's no, like, it doesn't exist. We live in a messed up world, so there's gonna be mess in everything. But the trick is, I think the difference is, do you just internalize the mess? Do you just take it in just like that, or do you actually take a step back and be like, what did I watch? What did I take away from it? What can I learn? Or, because I also feel like, right, Black is King as a project, right, I do hope that we can see more Black people, more Africans on the national stage. Like, I was actually thinking to myself the other day, in the same way that like K-pop and like K-dramas and even like Thai series, like just in the way that like Asian media and Asian entertainment has had this surge internationally, it's just like gone viral worldwide. I'd like to see that for Africa, and this isn't to diminish the accomplishments of Africans who have made it on the international stage, right? Like the people who are part of this project, like imagine being able to put on your CV, on your resume, that you were a part of Black is King. Like, hello, obviously that's gonna open doors for you. It's gonna give you that respectability in the industry. But I do want it to become a norm, right? A norm where our artists get to go global. And because I feel like right now, the way everything is we get so much content from America, from Europe, from Asia, but our content isn't going out there. There isn't really that cultural exchange. It's more of just like we just getting this influx, and then once in a while we have those breakout artists who do go overseas, who do amazing things. And so I think it's also not lost on me that while we do celebrate those individuals, their successes is for them as an individual. You know, if we're being honest, like as much as I love Trevor Noah, I don't gain really much from his job at the Daily Show. Like, it doesn't directly affect my life that much, you know. He's just the first example that came to my mind. And I could say more, but I won't, because I feel like I've said enough. So that being said, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you have any thoughts, please leave them down in the comment section on YouTube, or you can reach me on social media at Simply Sfisa on Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, until I see or hear for you guys in the next time, I love you so much. Bye guys.